Okay. I didn't sleep good last night, so I'm a little sleepy, but I feel good.
Make the sleepiness into loopiness, and we're perfect.
That's what the beer's for.
Excellent.
It's usually my strategy.
Turn around, I'm gonna put some shots in.
Just lean, turn around. Where are you putting the shots?
Boost, but you won't know.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not taking a vodka enema.
Turn around. Welcome once again to Noah's Snark, where two former religious types and current snarks take a look at religious media on its own terms.
My name is Hillary.
And I am Josh, a.k.a. I have no good nicknames for this, because it sucks.
Yeah. Oh yeah? This one sucks?
Yes.
Would you say it's the suckiest of the sucks?
No, it's not. Let's skip to the first impressions part. It is not that bad. It is just boring.
Okay.
In fact, it's so boring, as you know, that after I watched it, I texted you and said you didn't have to.
Which was just the kindest thing.
Because there's very little here to really engage with, you know?
So we're going to harken back to episode 1, where you just tell me about a thing that I don't know much about.
It's possible that your altered perspective will help make this a more entertaining experience than it was watching it.
Excellent.
Because...
let my confusion lead the way.
But before we continue any further, what are we doing today?
We are doing something about potatoes.
Faith-like potatoes.
Faith-like potatoes. Which is something you found at, what, Goodwill or something?
I found it at a Goodwill.
Yeah, okay. I feel okay with you spending money there on that. Thank you for not buying out of, like, the bargain bin at Target or Walmart or something.
No, it was like $2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. The most notable thing about this movie going in was that both the DVD cover and the menu screen have a man, presumably the main character, raising his arms victoriously in the rain, holding potatoes.
In a very, Shawshank Redemption-y way, like backlit, pouring rain, arms in the air, but holding potatoes, which is impossible not to laugh at.
And it should be clarified, not a sack of potatoes.
No.
Not a bundle.
2 individual potatoes.
One in each hand.
Yes.
Like you said, Shawshank style.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Hilarious.
So the only thing I was looking forward to in this entire movie was that scene. Because that's just the best goddamn thing I've ever seen.
It does draw you right in. It makes you hungry.
Another thing worth acknowledging about this movie is that it does take place in South Africa.
Yep.
That's it. Oh, and because you didn't watch it, you did look into it, because it is technically based on a true story.
I did.
And a real person.
I read up on this real person, and boy, is he a piece of work.
So we're going to talk about that. You can intersperse.
Okay.
Anytime you feel the need.
He angers me.
He angers you. That's a good start.
Yeah, is it? It's feeling. I'm glad to have feelings.
And because I have seen it and you haven't, we can still do a first impressions if we talk about you. What do you expect about this movie?
Well, with the 2 things that I do know, which is 1, the Potato Man, and 2, this actual real life man's history of evangelism in South Africa, his deep roots in homophobia and misogyny. He's one of those evangelists who preaches the man is the head of the household, women need to be subservient. That whole bullshit game. So my first impression is probably this is going to be a very boring movie. Not just because you said it, but I'm like, this guy doesn't have a story. He's just a piece of shit. And somehow gained followers.
Yeah, I get that. All right, cool.
Yeah.
So I guess we should get started on what we're doing.
What was your first impression?
I just, honestly, all I want out of this movie is the scene where he holds 2 potatoes in his hands in the rain.
Yeah, I hope he's crying.
Screams
is he crying
victoriously.
in that scene? Will I find out later?
You'll find out.
Okay, tell me. Go on.
All right, so we start the movie with Global Creative Studios presents a film by Regard Vandenberg.
All right.
And our first shot is some birds flying through a dusky mountainside and a horse being prepared for a nice ride, presumably. What else would you prepare a horse for, right?
Does it have a saddle on it?
It has a saddle on it.
Yeah.
Early 90s Disney music follows.
Sing it.
No, it's not like...
Hum it.
I don't remember.
Okay, I don't know what that means then.
Like the sort of music you'd open up a Disney movie with. Brink,
like the opening of Beauty and the Beast?
Not a good Disney movie, made-for-TV Disney movie. Brink or Xenon.
Oh, no, okay.
My Mom is My House or something,
Disney
whatever.
Channel movie.
You're right, Disney
Very
Channel
different.
movie.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's just like da 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 da. I don't know.
Cheesy.
Cheesy little music. And we see a human man readying that same horse. He's loading it up with potatoes as well as his Bible.
He's loading up the horse with potatoes?
In his little sack on the saddle. He has potatoes. He's putting potatoes in it.
He's not on the back of the horse
Nope.
doing this. Okay, I'm like, how is he getting the potatoes?
No, he's
on the
prepping.
horse? Okay.
A dog herds some donkeys as this man takes off into the field on horseback, and we now see the beautiful and vast farm he presides over before we cut to a place called Broken Hill in Zambia. We now meet our main character, Angus Buchan.
Yep.
Real guy. And he rushes his workers to load up a pickup truck as people watch them drive away in very unsafe conditions because there are 5 guys in the back of this truck.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah.
Farms,
He's very stern. He's like, hurry, do the thing. He's yelling at everybody. He's got some clear, urgency issues, let's call them.
All right.
And people are staring at him as he's barking orders at people. He's doing some of the work, but let's be clear. He's not really working way harder than anyone else.
Gotcha.
So you're not the one to be yelling at me. But that's fine.
So we get a good taste of his personality at the start. Okay.
Right. We learn, it also should be noted that Angus is white and everyone else in Zambia.
Yeah.
Not everyone, but most of the other people.
Doesn't he have Irish or Scottish heritage or something?
He's Scottish. His parents are Scottish.
Hence the Angus.
He grew up there, I guess.
Yeah.
But he was born in Africa and he lived there most of his life.
Right. To this day. So
he still is very Scottish, and clearly so.
Yeah.
Because I guess he grew up there when he was really young, but he moved there pretty young.
Is his accent more Scottish or more South African?
It's definitely more Scottish.
Interesting.
To be fair, he's in Zambia now. They're going to move to South Africa, so he didn't even really originate.
Oh, gotcha. That's right. Okay.
I'm pretty sure he was born in, Zimbabwe or something.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, he was. He was born in whatever Zimbabwe was before it was Zimbabwe. He was born there.
While driving back from the Broken Hill in Zambia, we learn on the radio that vigilantes are roaming the streets, and our main character arrives at his destination and drops his goods off. Now he goes back home to the farm, where he checks on the condition of a sick bull who's apparently not going to make it.
Oh, no.
Dang it. It's a very old-looking, sickly bull, and he gives us a bit of narration to familiarize us with the situation. They say... I'm not going to pretend to do his accent, because I can't.
No, it's okay.
They say that the condition for a great miracle is impossibility, but nothing on earth could help me keep my farm in Zambia. But I was left with no choice. The war, the lack of education for my children, and an uncertain future for white farmers had left me with no option.
Mm-hmm.
So we are back inside his home at night, and he talks with his wife about selling the farm, and she's the one who suggests South Africa as the location for their new farm. And she says that God will give them a farm while he stews silently. He seems less convinced than she is.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently they decide to move. I don't know how much time has passed, but they are moving. They are in the process. So we're in the city, and Angus and his wife are almost involved in a traffic collision. Someone almost hits them, or they almost hit someone, doesn't matter. Angus gets out of his car and starts a fight, literally. Starts a fight. He pushes this guy through someone else's fruit stand.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see how they try to turn this guy into a hero.
His wife rushes them off and drives away because they're criminals now.
Right.
He assaulted a guy and broke a stand.
Yeah.
And then was just like, let's leave. So I guess when he decided to leave Zambia, he also decided to burn any bridges he might have had because fuck it.
Yeah.
Fuck Zambia. Fuck this. Fuck my farm.
Right. White people can't do good here. Fuck y'all.
And I wrote all of that first. And I was joking that he was a criminal, even though he is. But the next scene is actually him saying, now we really have to leave Zambia, and quick.
Sounds like a good Christian.
So at least he's aware. Well, he's not one yet.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet, but he's not one yet.
Super.
Mm-hmm. So this is the moment where I was like, I love being right. Look at that. He is a criminal.
Mm-hmm.
Packing up, he complains about the bad price they've received for their Zambian farm, but he is thankful that they have each other and the kids, and they all head off to South Africa. His plan for the new farm is to grow beans and maize and possibly cattle. But when they arrive, they realize that there's literally no source of water.
Awesome.
Yeah. They also live in a little trailer now instead of the very spacious house that they had before. But they still name the new place Shalom, which is a thing I guess people do. They name their homes.
Yeah, they do in parts of the world.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I was like, why would you name your house? It's just house.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like back in the, like, Anne of Green Gables. It's the only thing that comes to my mind for some fucking reason. But, yeah, their house is called Green Gables. But it's like, I don't know, even in America, like, farms, people name their farms.
That's true.
Yeah.
I guess I've seen that, yeah. Or, like, rich people name their manors.
True.
But usually after themselves.
Right, or, people who are living in the old plantations that still have names.
Yeah.
Like Tara.
Tara?
Tara is Scarlett O'Hara's house in
Right.
Gone with the Wind.
You're right. So, yeah, I guess it's a thing. I don't know. I thought it was weird, especially because it's a little trailer. It's not even really...
Right.
Like, it's a home. It's not a... Oh, we were talking about naming the place. Yeah, so it's probably the name of the whole farmland. But they very specifically were like, this is where we're living now. It's our new house. And it was a little trailer. And we're like, we have to name it. Which is why I didn't associate them with naming the entire farm.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's all they have. They own that.
Right,
that
except they own this
garbage.
entire... Right, except they really own this entire piece of land. Which
Right.
is... Farms are pretty big, generally.
Yep.
So it was this whole thing. But that's fine. We now see Angus working with what I can only assume is a hired hand. And the guy was doing something very slightly wrong. There's some big stump they're trying to get rid of. Mm-hmm. And so Angus freaks the hell out again. And he yells at him to get off his farm. And he calls him a bloody idiot. And he literally chases him off. He also comments to his wife that the Zulus are devious. And he doesn't know what they're saying. And he didn't like the look of that guy anyway. So that's
awesome.
That's our hero of the day.
Our hero, yeah, we're starting strong with racist.
Racist,
Yeah.
angry.
Yeah, anger issues, racist.
It's just a great start.
Ugh.
We now see a pair of South African men talking about the new white man at the Dixon place. And we're going to meet these guys. So let's go ahead and say that they are Isaiah and Simeon.
Simeon?
Simeon.
All right.
That's the name they give him, at least. They have Zulu names as well. But
Oh, gotcha.
those are the names that they're going to use most of the time. Isaiah and Simeon are talking about going down to the new farm and seeing if he needs some hands. So we're back to Angus, and he and his wife, Jill, are listening to the radio, and they hear a news story about another white farmer being attacked, and he begins to question if they shouldn't just move into the city rather than
Move
staying.
into the sea?
City.
Oh. like a houseboat?
Move
They
into
name
the-
that too? That's more normal.
Yeah, move into the city because they wouldn't be isolated.
Okay,
and
what, like Cape Town or something?
I guess. I don't know what city they're near, but basically...
That's the one I know. So
Right.
that was me trying to sound smart and like I know geography.
But essentially the idea, I think, is if you're in the city, you're safer because there's more people around. Whereas out here on the farm, you can be attacked at any point.
Right.
Because
South Africa's fucked.
apparently white people are being attacked. Farms being burned down and stuff.
That is a legit thing in answer to apartheid.
Right.
I wish I wasn't so good riddance about it. I was like, yeah, fine. Set them all on fire. Burn all the white people. I don't know.
Jill, his wife, assures him that God will protect them. And we found out that he doesn't pray and doesn't expect God to listen to him anyway. So now we see our primary problems for our film. Our main character has a pretty severe anger problem, is a racist,
Yes.
and lacks the proper belief and reverence for God, and he's on a farm that is destined to fail, as it currently stands.
Yeah.
So, those are our main four
I don't know.
conflicts.
I'm behind him.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm sure you can imagine how each of these four conflicts is going to be resolved.
Jesus?
Ta-da!
Yeah.
You've seen too many of these movies now.
I'm just psychic. Like, I'm just really smart.
Yeah, you're really good at predicting very complicated plots.
All right.
We now meet Simeon properly, who introduces himself to Angus, but he doesn't speak English or Fangolo, which apparently Angus does know some of, and could try to communicate, but Simeon doesn't know that. But Angus hires him anyway, because I guess Angus isn't so bad after all. He might be a racist, and he has very little patience, but he's like, meh. And that's how they get introduced.
Okay.
He's basically working with a man he can't really communicate with yet. And then Angus has a day off. He's going into town, and he's invited to play, I guess, polo? They're on horses, and they have sticks.
Polo.
Polo. With some of the locals, but these are white locals. And of course he takes the bait because he gets taunted pretty badly by the inviter. You know, like, if you're scared, you don't have to play. But, you know, if you're not...
That's all it takes for toxic masculinity to be like, fuck you!
Fuck you, I'll kill your family, I'm gonna fuck your wife when I beat you in polo!
Exactly. They beat you and then beat you with the mallet.
But after the game, he does make some friends and acquaintances, who, as white South Africans, tell him to watch his back and carry a weapon, because Zulus are a treacherous bunch.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we're doubling down. In the next scene, Simeon tells Angus that he can show him how to build a house, because the trailer isn't really proper for his family, but obviously Angus can't understand him. Mm-hmm. Conveniently, a neighboring farmer who does speak Zulu comes by and translates for him, and so Angus will think about whether he wants Simeon to help him build a house. Simeon then brings over his friend Isaiah to the other guy from the earlier scene to get a job at the same farm. And Isaiah does also speak English, which is a bonus for everyone involved.
Yay!
So he gets a job easily because he can help communicate.
Translate.
Right. So now we cut a scene to a mostly complete house as everyone sort of muds it up the walls to finish it off. They're just basically getting in mud and making walls out of it.
Gotcha.
Which I guess is how they... But yeah, so they're just doing that as a family, and then they take in the newly completed Buchan mansion. Literally their words, not mine.
The Buchan mansion.
Buchan.
I hate the way his name is spelled, because it looks like it wants to be Buchanan.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Buchan. Angus's family, his extended family, comes to visit him in South Africa, and Jill confides to the sister-in-law that he needs help because he's extremely tightly wound and could snap at any time, as far as she's concerned.
What a great way to live.
Right.
For life.
My husband is constantly angry, and I think he can snap at any point.
I live on edge. Constant stress.
I'm just worried that he'll notice I'm alive still. Which is actually true. That's how I grew up. Fun facts.
Yeah.
My whole thing where I have a silent walk is...
so as not to anger the beast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My idea as a child was if I just made as little noise as physically possible, my dad would never notice I was alive.
Did it work?
No. Because, as it turns out, you can always hear when someone's in your house. Plus, where was I else going to be?
Right. Yeah.
I was 9. I could...
Where the fuck else were you going to go?
Yeah. But, I mean, I guess I don't know. It was just one of those things. And I haven't adapted out of it, and I kind of like it anyway.
I think it's actually very valuable to be sneaky quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just also occasionally spooky. Like the other day, I was following a woman accidentally. Yeah. We were just going the same direction.
Yeah.
But I was a few steps behind her, and she didn't see me. And so then I was behind her for a while walking. And I was like, should I say something? Because she doesn't know I'm here. And if she turns around, she might be concerned. Yeah. But now if I say something, it's been too long and it's weird.
Right. And if you say something, that will definitely start alert.
Right.
Right.
So
what you do is you stop walking. You wait. Yeah. Or you pass.
Yeah. But I was just having one of those moments where it's like, this silenceness has worked against me now.
I walk really fast.
Yeah.
Especially when I have somewhere to be, which is usually, why would I be walking if I didn't have somewhere to be?
Yeah.
And I have a tendency to end up right on the neck of somebody. Mm-hmm. To be like right there. And they have no knowledge of me, so they don't move over or whatever. I don't want to just be like, on your left! Like,
right.
Yeah.
You get it.
Yeah. But like, if there's a crowd, I can just... My favorite was being in New York and just being able to slither through groups of people, because everybody walks pretty fast, but there's tons of them. Mm-hmm. But being able to read the waves of people, and I don't have to tell anybody I'm here. Nobody cares either way. Right. You can just slide through in the gaps.
So I understand how she's living, but also she's an adult woman and should get out of the situation.
Yeah, but that's not how those situations work.
Right. I mean, yeah, but it's not like he's doing particularly well. He's not giving up a glamorous...
No, that's not how abusive situations work.
No, I understand all that. I'm just saying. A lot of times it's particularly complicated by,
financial.
Right. But they're already broke.
Right.
Granted, she has no...
Is she Christian?
Yeah.
Then she believes that she's married for life, no matter what.
That's true, too. The in-law recommends pills for Angus, while the rest of the family discusses the possibility of planting potatoes on this farm.
Pills?
Yeah, pills for his Anger or mental illness or
Did
whatever.
Did they have, a recommendation of a specific pill?
No, they didn't say any particular name of it, but...
What he needs is a psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're supposed to be, like, antidepressants or...
Holistic.
Oh, yeah, I don't know what they're supposed to be, but pills.
Right.
That supposedly helped her husband as well.
Gotcha.
I don't know.
Maybe
anti-stress
Xanax?
pills? Yeah, maybe Xanax.
Right.
I think that's more what they're going for.
Crush them up in cereal and enjoy the rest of your day.
But the idea of planting potatoes is expensive and risky. Because if you don't get a lot of rain, it can ruin the whole farm easily. Because you can't tell potatoes are growing because they grow underground.
Right.
You can't check them because that'll ruin it.
Right.
So you basically plant them and hope for the best, and if you don't get rain, you're fucked.
Awesome.
And if you spend a whole season doing that, you will die. Because you won't have any food or money. Isaiah and Simeon are seen waiting outside the farm as Angus arrives back with some field hands, and they tell him that there's been a big accident. The suspense, of course, is killing us as we drive back to the farm, and we see that the tractor has been crashed and has been ruined.
Crashed into what?
The other tractor. They have two, I guess.
Oh. The two tractors that they have crashed into each other?
Yeah.
That sounds like it was on purpose.
It also, I might be wrong, they may not have two yet, in which case this one hit a tree. The point is, Simeon was driving because he didn't really know how, and Isaiah was trying to help him learn how. Mm-hmm. They crashed it.
Awesome.
Angus freaks out and yells at them both, driving them away and telling them to never come back. Before he calls...
This guy makes friends everywhere he goes.
But then he calls them back, like, he sort of, like, settles. He's like, come back here. And he says, we can fix this. Before he starts yelling again and they run away again. So not only...
I like that they're not shying away from his abuser tendencies.
Yeah, he's got some serious...
No, yeah. Wait, come back. I need to yell at you some more.
Right, because he's like, hey, we can
play it cool, be nice.
Come on, we're cool. We're cool.
Right.
You idiots!
Lure
How
them
could you
back.
do such a...
Yeah. Our hero, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. But I guess he eventually does settle down, because we do see them sitting down and talking about the solution pretty calmly, which is that they will have to fix it themselves, and for no extra pay, since they're the ones that broke it. Mm-hmm. Which is not an unreasonable compromise.
No.
Like, you did break my tractor, we need to fix it. You still have jobs.
Yeah.
But we need to fix this tractor.
Right, you're basically working for free now for a little while.
Right. Or I think it might have just been like overtime. Like, we'll still farm, but we need to fix this on our time, but I'm not going to pay you for that.
Right.
And to be fair, he's not getting paid either.
Right.
So, I don't know. But either way, they've sorted it out, and apparently forgiven him for being an inconsistent, angry man.
Cool.
Yeah, everyone's just accepting him for this.
I don't like it.
Yeah. In the next scene, we are back with Angus with his white friends, and he talks about how stressed out and tired he is. He still respects and appreciates Simeon, despite the crash, but one of the white guys tells him that he's surely lost their respect now because he went too easy on them after the crash.
Too easy. No physical abuse.
Yeah.
Only verbal?
This guy talks about how being... Well, he's basically...
What a pussy.
He was basically saying that he should have fired them. They should not be working for him anymore.
Uh-huh.
And he went too easy by letting them have jobs. He also talks about how being a white South African farmer is the most dangerous job in the world. And he goes on a bit of an anti-Zulu screed at this point.
Awesome.
This is not the guy who we would call Angus's best friend.
Uh-huh.
It's just one of the guys who hangs out in this group of white folks at like a country club. It's very strange.
Okay.
It's like a clubhouse.
Yeah, where they're safe.
Where they're safe. But Angus's best friend counters and tells him that keeping the peace is essential, especially because no one can hold on to a grudge like the Zulu can. Part of the reason all of this is in flux anyway is that the Zulu have never forgotten what...
Apartheid.
Right.
Apartheid.
And will never forget.
Oh, yeah. Guess what? They're allowed.
So his more close friend is actually advocating.
These guys, they hold grudges.
Yeah, but he's advocating for keeping peace and doing what he did. Like,
right.
Maybe even less. Like, don't be so angry all the time because, like, if you make enemies, you will have enemies forever. We need some peace.
Yeah.
This guy was also a cop.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know if it makes a difference, but we now go back at home, and Angus and Jill are arguing about him being impossible to deal with, and he finally agrees to take the pills that she got for him before leaving the house in a huff. He's very upset about it. He's like, you want me to take these crazy pills? Fine!
But you just, get him pills.
I don't know.
Is the internet invented yet? Did
No.
she do the... No?
This has
got
to be like the 80s.
Okay. She just went and got him pills.
Yeah, she's got him pills.
All
I
right.
don't know, maybe they have insurance. Or South Africa has a good health
He would
care.
still have to get diagnosed with something and be given by a doctor. She couldn't go pick up pills for him.
I mean, you can always find pills.
I mean, not in the 80s. Not like that.
This is South Africa.
I don't know anything about South Africa.
Exactly, so we don't know how easy it is to find pills.
You just go to a pharmacy, you're like, I feel,
You're assuming,
if I get in today.
You're assuming pharmacy. I'm not.
Yeah, okay. But where's it coming from then?
I don't know. The same place I can get pills on the street right now if I want, is my point.
I would love to see you try to get pills on the street right now.
I'd do it.
Who the hell would you call?
I know people.
Do you?
I know people who know people.
I do know people who know people.
Exactly.
I feel like I could definitely.
Yeah, I could do it.
Don't feel like you could.
I could. I know people. I mean, really, all you need to know is one drug dealer who probably knows another who, like, has the better stuff.
Right, but I don't think it's going to be, like, an antipsychotic or anything that's actually helpful. It's, like, a lot of the stuff that helps with whatever his issues are not the fun kind that people want to buy on the streets.
Yeah, I have no idea what kind of pills they wanted.
Yeah,
I think it might be
pills
Xanax.
I take, nobody would want those. They don't help you unless you take them regularly for months and months, and then you have to keep having them.
Yeah, I don't know, but she has pills for him.
Cool.
Who knows? Point is, he's doped up, I guess.
She found ecstasy.
She found ecstasy.
He's
Take this
having
every
an
day.
okay time for the first time.
Rest of your life. Mom drops the kids off at school and gets into a conversation with one of the women there about the farm in Angus before going out with her for tea. At tea, Jill finally confesses that things are going quite poorly, and she gets invited to a Methodist breakfast by the school mom that she met.
Okay.
As the family gets ready to go to this event, Angus decides he doesn't want to go because he's not the churching type anyway, and he really hates his fucking tie. He keeps like, I can't tie a tie. Fuck this.
Awesome.
Fine, I'll try again. Nope, still mad at the tie.
She's married a child.
Yes. And she's like, don't wear the tie.
Yeah.
She literally says, she's like, I don't care if you wear the tie. It's just a tie. And he's like, I'm trying to tie it. Ah, I'm so mad.
He's exhausting.
He's completely exhausted.
I'm exhausted, and I did not watch this.
But Jill does manage to convince him to go, though reluctantly. They even argue in the car on the way there, but they eventually arrive, and good old Angus is in quite the mood. They wait for things to begin with awkward looks on their face because they had to sit very up front because there was no other space in this little church. Mm-hmm. And they're invited to the proper church service the next day, where local farmers are said to be speaking. At the Methodist breakfast they're supposed to be at, Angus is just watching the clock until they can leave, but Jill has apparently decided to take them up on the offer of going to the next day's service because they are in church the next day. Mm-hmm. And I was wrong. This is the part where they're forced to sit in the front row because there was no other space. Which is, to be fair, always the worst.
Yep.
Especially when the room is already crowded and full.
I wouldn't even do it in a classroom? No.
There is a moment where Angus comes in and sees that their only spot is up front, and he's like, I'm just gonna leave. Like, let's just leave.
Also what I would have done.
And Jill's like, no, we have to go. And she's probably right. You shouldn't just leave.
Probably.
But I'm also 100% with Angus. Like, fuck that.
Yeah, no. Well, at least it's not going to be one of those, like, shows you go to where it might be audience participatory.
Yeah, that's true.
In which case, I just live with anxiety until the end of the show, just hoping to God they don't make eye contact with me and want me to do anything on stage.
Yeah. One of the local farmers, gives an uninteresting talk as we hear soft piano music, which is supposed to make us realize that Angus is beginning to feel something. He flashes back to his childhood, when he was first exposed to the Jesus story. At this point, inspired, Angus decides to form a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, and he cries over his newfound salvation. He then goes into the pastor's office and talks to him about his temper and his wild man personality. But he's told that God gave him that wildness because he loves him.
Uh-huh. Yeah. It's not you.
It's not you.
You're perfect.
It's God.
God made you. Everyone else needs to deal with it.
Mm-hmm. He is then gifted a small Bible, which looks very similar, which is probably the same one from the opening scene where he was flipping through it.
Okay.
And he's challenged to tell the first 3 friends he sees about what has transpired on this day. We find out it's the next day, and Angus is in town, and he sees his best white man friend outside someplace. And Angus was challenged, so he has to give him a rundown of what happened. Mm-hmm. So they go to a bar, they get a couple of drinks, and he tells him that he's given his life and family and farm over to Jesus. But he's not initially believed by this guy because of how ridiculous it sounds.
Right.
The friend acts relatively well. He takes it well. He's just sort of surprised and shocked, especially with this this guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? You? But it's fine. He's just not a believer himself, which is, to be fair, what I would do if one of my friends said it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay, that's fun. I'm glad you're having fun.
Words and actions. Words and actions.
Do whatever you want.
See the actions.
Right. Now, in the next scene, we see that Angus is beginning to learn a little Zulu. So he's actually able to speak somewhat with Simeon and Isaiah on their own terms.
Yeah.
He's not great at it, but he can speak enough to get things across.
Good. That's progress.
Right. While working, he also shares the good word with Simeon while they're burning some brush. While doing that, though, they're trying to get rid of, I guess, trash. I don't know how burning random things works. The fire gets out of control, and he rushes back to get more people to help maintain the blaze. Now, Angus burns himself trying to control the fire, and it's several minutes of us having to watch people try to unsuccessfully put a fire out.
Right.
So it's basically beginning to hit their neighbors, and if their neighbors get their farm burned down, they're going to sue him, and then he's fucked forever.
Yeah. What are they doing to try to attempt to put this out?
They just have
jackets?
like jackets.
Oh, they're just
and rugs
fanning
and
air
stuff.
onto it.
Well, some of them are trying to put it out, but yeah, mostly they're trying to like get the wind away from it.
Thus creating wind.
Yeah, so
Whatever.
It's a whole thing.
I don't care.
I mean, it's the irony of fire is that you can put it out with wind, but also it needs oxygen to like.
Right.
I don't know. It's one of those things. Like wind makes it come on fire.
Yeah.
But also puts it out if it's strong enough.
Right.
It's just one of those
If it's
goofy
stronger
things.
than the fire itself.
Because
Yeah.
like if you're doing when you start a fire with just some sticks.
Yeah, and then you blow on it to get the.
You blow on it, right?
Right.
But then if you blow on it too much, you put it out. So it's like, what the fuck?
Fuck you, fire.
Fuck you, fire. They don't have any real resources. They're just hoping that if they're gonna burn down, they burn them down and not their neighbors down.
Yeah.
Because losing his own farm is bad enough, but if he gets sued, it's worse.
Do they still not have water?
No.
How did they get the water situation figured out?
I guess they buy it. I don't know. They don't seem to have any like local river or pond or anything.
Okay.
But I'm sure they have some sort of irrigation process. Who knows? They don't really explain the workings of a farm to us.
Gotcha.
But as they're obviously being very unsuccessful, Angus prays and tells Simeon that they must just pray for rain. Simeon tells him there will be no rain, for the rain season has not yet arrived. And Angus calls out once more to Jesus as the fire worsens. And as he does this, of course, a dark storm cloud gathers, just as Angus begins to give up. But he turns excitedly as he hears the thunder. It begins to rain, and everyone cheers and laughs as the fire is snuffed out. Angus, of course, gives the credit to God.
Yep. Awesome.
So right away, nailing it.
Yeah. He's really good at this Christian thing.
He's very good at it. Angus is now reading his Bible in a cornfield, and he asks God how to speak to people. Every time I say something new is happening, just assume there's a new scene. There's very little transitionary stuff going on.
Okay.
But it's basically just a cut, new thing happening.
Cool.
There's no real sense of time most of the time.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. But he's asking God how he can speak to people. The same reverend that helped him get saved comes by looking for Angus, and they talk about how he has witnessed miracles, and how something has changed in his heart, and how there has to be people out there, just like he used to be, despairing and working their heads off for no reason at all. Apparently, when he got saved, he was no longer despairing, he's not angry anymore, or abusive like he was. Mm-hmm. He doesn't even have to work as hard as he used to.
So it's just like fixed his life.
Yeah, fixed his whole life.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. I mean...
He's told by the Reverend that God uses everyday people, just like him, who simply put their faith in God, and it solved all of their problems, like healing the sick and repairing broken families.
Yep.
You see, he's been a believer...
The more Christians there are, the less terror there is in the world. Did you notice?
You see, he's been a believer for all of a week, and he's no longer the angry man who has to work really hard. He's just been magically cured of all ills and woes, because that's how God works, right?
Ugh.
I want to ask a proper believer, like, is that really how you feel? Like,
Yeah,
you
do
have
you
no
think
problems?
Right. No, well, you know, most people, at least people we know that are believers, would not say that. They're like, that's not what this is about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't... That's an opinion, a perspective I can respect. But this... Like, I don't even have to work as hard on my farm anymore.
Right.
Like, what
All
magical
I had to
nonsense.
do was talk to myself.
Yeah.
And it all, everything
Or
works
even
out.
if you assume it's real.
Right.
Right? Like, there is a God, and he did help me with this. who are you?
Right.
Because we know people who have the same beliefs, and they ain't being helped.
Well, you do know he likes rich white men more.
Yeah.
They get blessed way more often.
Yeah. Thank you, God, for curing the cataracts of Sam's mom.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Josh / Tim Minchin.
Yeah. It's just, it's the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
as long as your cataracts are fine, clearly.
It has nothing to do with you having amazing insurance.
Like,
Because
you know,
of your privilege.
there's people missing legs, arms,
Yeah.
eyes entirely. Their eyes are just gone.
Yeah.
It's
But
like,
that's because
put-
God didn't want them to have eyes. They
Right.
needed better other senses.
Right. But I'm going
Right.
to fix this little cataract. That's what's
Right.
important to me.
Fixed.
Fixed it.
You think maybe God just has like a wheel he spins? He's like, all right, I'm taking care of this bitch.
Right. But the Reverend tells him to remember the 17th of December, as this is supposed to be a very important date, but he doesn't really say why. Now we're in a new scene, and Angus is putting together a service for the local people, but he's warned that the people have been over-evangelized, and they will not be moved by this new event. Angus's faith drives him forward, however, so he presses onward to try to get people to come to his faith event. A storm brews late at night, and some women come to Angus's home, saying that some other women have been hit by lightning. 2 of them, and 1 of them is dead.
Were they holding hands?
I don't know. I guess they're neighbors. They're from a neighboring village or something.
Mm-hmm.
They just like literally come up on his window.
2 separate women. No, like the women getting struck by white lightning. Were they holding umbrellas and each other's hands?
I guess so. I don't know. They haven't really said.
Okay.
But they come to Angus for help. And he rushes over to the village, and he goes inside this place. They have these 2 women, and one of them is injured, but, you know, like, conscious, and the other one is just laying on the ground, supposedly dead. Mm-hmm. Angus prays about what he's supposed to do, and he leans over the corpse of the woman, and he attempts to heal her. And he eventually lifts her off of her feet as she regains consciousness.
Physically or, like, with
Physically. And she's up. She's awake when he picks her up, like, off of the ground.
Yeah.
She's awake. She's fine.
For the record, he is also, like, one of the other criticisms of him in real life is that he is one of those preachers that claims to be able to cure people of things. Yeah.
Well, he did it here. He literally claimed her of death.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
He rose her from death.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Bullshit. I hate him.
now, in his very, very slight defense, he immediately tells her and the rest of the spectators that it is not him who did it,
It's God working through him.
and she's been raised by God, who
Still.
gives life.
Lying like that.
So yeah, we're faith healing now.
It makes me so angry.
And I mean,
Charlatan.
besides the huge questions of how do we know she's dead, and even
Right.
if she, like,
Is there not a doctor anywhere that they could have had to come in?
right, but like getting hit by lightning isn't necessarily fatal. She could have easily just been unconscious.
Right.
And even if it's all true,
Right.
and she was dead, she still needs to go checked out. Don't just lick.
100% need to be checked out.
If you regain
Probably
consciousness after being hit by lightning,
There's probably some nerve damage somewhere.
you need to go talk to somebody
Yeah.
who's a professional. But she's just like, huh. I'm fine.
All right, back to work.
Yeah, like you're not fine. You're very, very much not fine. So it's the whole thing. In the next scene, Angus's big event is beginning, and we see him getting prepared for it, asking the Lord to speak to him and through him, because he's not very good with public speaking, apparently. He sees that he's gathered a large crowd, and he's very thankful for it. And on stage, he tells the story of how his entire crop of corn was wiped out once in a hailstorm, and it took his livelihood with it. But he decided to trust God completely, and 3 days later, he had an entire crop pick itself up off the ground that they could use.
Oh, wow. He's brazen.
It's another point, not only is that obviously a lie,
Straight lie.
but we've been watching this movie, and I am completely certain that it has not been several or even 1 year.
Right.
So this event didn't happen.
He made up the entire event.
Right. Because if this event had happened, they could have easily shown it to us like they did the rainstorm.
Right.
But it hasn't even been a year. And he said 1 year this happened, but I trusted God. Except he only trusted God in the context of this movie. He was clearly not a believer before that.
Right.
So this is just a lie, even in the context of the movie.
Oh, he is a piece of work.
Like, why are we showing this man lying to a huge audience?
Right. Again.
And pretending like we're supposed to like
He's
him.
supposed to be the hero.
Yeah.
Maybe this is why it was returned, or like sold at Goodwill.
Yeah.
So this is bullshit.
So this is the ironic part, is like we hated him before.
Yeah.
Because he was an angry, abusive man who trapped his wife and kids with him and ran off anybody who tried to work with him.
Right.
And we're like, okay, piece of shit. And now he's saved and we're supposed to like really appreciate him. He's somehow got worse.
Because he's still kind of the other things.
He's not the angry. He's like, honestly, in every... No.
Yeah.
I know you're correct.
Yeah.
There's no way in real life.
Movie.
But in the movie, he's totally fine now.
Right. His personality has completely shifted.
Overnight.
Right. All of his anger issues are gone.
But in the context of the movie, he's somehow become worse because now he's telling people...
Flat out lies.
Just flat out lies.
Yeah.
And telling them to trust in a thing which we know people often trust in and they don't get the results they want.
Yeah.
Like, you are not always going to be okay if you trust in the Lord.
No.
Sorry.
That's not how anything
Not how
works.
anything works. Like, you need to do the work.
Yeah.
Or there's that old joke. The man is on a roof and his town is flooded and he's waiting to be rescued. And every time someone comes to rescue him, he says, oh, I'm sure God will save me. You know, like a boat comes by, I'm sure God will save me. A helicopter comes by, I'm sure God will save me. He dies, he gets to heaven, he's like, God, why didn't you save me? He's like, what are you talking about? I sent you a boat and a helicopter?
You're an idiot. Also, you're going to hell.
But like,
that's faith for idiots here.
That's, even if you're a believer, that's how it's supposed to work.
Right.
This man's like, your corn fell down, don't bother planting more, God will pick it up off the ground.
Exactly.
You're gonna starve to death.
Oh my God.
Or go bankrupt.
Yeah, no, he's actually causing damage.
Right.
He is hurting people.
Right. You got struck by lightning. Trust in God, don't go to a doctor.
Yes.
So, Angus's point is, if God can fix your corn, he can certainly fix your heart. So come on and let God pick up your broken life today. And Angus gets through to the cameraman most of all. Like, literally, he's being filmed, and the cameraman, like, has a moment where he's still filming, and he's like, oh, this is interesting. And after the service, we see them praying together to get some salvation at the end of the night.
Gotcha.
So he saves the cameraman at the very least.
Great. That guy's going to die soon, too.
18 months later, this is the only time I'm aware of in the movie where they showed an actual timestamp. A radio tells us that many farmers are facing disaster, and Angus is getting calls from pastors and preachers, and he's considering selling the farm entirely and getting a larger one while he pursues his pastoring thing full-time. So basically...
I like that you said pastoring, I heard pestering, and I realized that those are very close words, but also both accurate.
Right. They are the same word. Not all pestering is pastoring.
Yes, but all pastoring is pestering.
All right.
We both know that's not actually true. Don't write in.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm sticking with it.
No, you could go to a pastor and he'll do what you want him to do. So
That's
it's not
true.
like he's seeking you out,
That's
forcing
true.
his
That's
word.
a fair point.
Yeah, but
if you're getting pastored at, you probably ask for it.
Yes, hopefully.
So Angus tells Simeon and the rest of the crew that he will be gone for a bit, and to please watch over his farm and his family. And of course, Simeon agrees. We then cut to wife Jill pining outside late at night as she waits for Angus to return, as Simeon stops by to ensure that everything is fine. That's it. That's a whole scene. Once he returns, Angus gives a little speech about how great Scotland was while he's wearing a kilt with some kids. He's like talking to kids. And so he's making a joke about a man in a skirt or whatever, a dress, whatever they call it. And Simeon asks him why he stays in Africa if Scotland is so great. And he literally calls him a colonizer.
Because he
is, but it's
that's hilarious.
It's funny, and it's a fair question. And Angus says, that's a fair question, but I feel like I'm an African through and through. And he was born, he did live most of his life here, so it's not like he's...
No, I know, it's hard.
It is. But it is strange.
Accurate.
It is strange for white people to say they're African through and through, but they did colonize and take over, and now you can just be African.
Yeah.
You know? It's just one of those things that happens. And it's not his fault.
Charlize Theron is African, and she's the whitest person I know.
Exactly. And he wants to see past all of the differences and be united with, I guess, the Zulu and any other peoples of Native Africanness in Christianity. So he wants to spread Christianity and unite people through that rather than skin color and this other stuff.
Sure.
I'm paraphrasing, but that's the general gist of what he's. In the next scene, Simeon gives Angus permission to call him by his Zulu name, Gidley.
Gidley.
Yeah, that's his Zulu name.
Sounds like a hobbit name. I love that.
Yeah. But it's just one of those things, like, we're super close friends now. You can call, here's my Zulu name, and you can say it.
It's a dwarf.
Yeah,
it's closer to Gimli,
right.
But yeah.
Yeah, so we're supposed to know that Angus and Simeon are, like, friends now.
Cool.
Because, he told him his real name and let him call him that, too, which is also a difference.
Yeah.
Like, if your friend tells you the middle name, and you're like, I'm gonna call you that, and it's like, no, the fuck you aren't.
No, that was a super secret between two super secret friends.
Right. All right, so God has been talking to Angus some more, and he tells Jill about the questions he's been asked. Are you ready to be a fool for me? Are you ready for people to badmouth you? And are you willing to spend less time with your family?
Wait, who's
Angus has been talking to God.
Uh-huh.
And that's what God has asked him.
How convenient. He hates his family.
Now, Jill isn't excited about it, obviously, because he'll be away, and asks him if he's a farmer or a preacher. But we don't have a response from him yet. That night, she does walk it back a little bit in saying that she doesn't want to sound negative about him going away to preach. But they and she misses him when he's gone, and they make out by the fire.
Ugh.
They hang out a lot, like, outside their house, like, with little campfires.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing. And here I was like, oh, Angus is about to make this a very different movie. Under the stars, campfire late at night.
Ugh. No, please. No, thank you.
We're back at the White Guy Club, and where they're talking about how the season has been going very poorly for farmers, and many of the farms are going to be lost entirely. And Angus is convinced that God wants him to put together a big prayer meeting with farmers to pray about the violence and the drought and everything else that's going on. And by big, he means mega big, because he then goes to talk to a fella about renting out an entire stadium. Back at home, Angus is being visited again by his extended family, his brothers, and their kids. Mm-hmm. And he is being so religious that it's annoying even to them. When Simeon comes by on a tractor to pick Angus up to head off to one of the fields, and a few of the other children join him on the quest to pull the other tractor out of the ditch. That's what they're doing. Now they have at least two, and they're using one tractor to pull the other out. Now, if I'm describing such a mundane scene, you can rest assured that something significant is about to happen.
Oh, goody.
They hit a bump in the road, and his nephew falls under the tractor and is immediately smashed to bits.
Oh my god, did they show it? Is there blood?
There's a little bit of blood from the kid as...
Holy fuck.
Because the tractor runs over him.
Yeah.
And obviously Angus jumps off, and he, like, goes to help him. The kid is in one piece, but he's, like, spitting up blood.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of like, ugh. Even though he's not nearly as fucked up as he might be, like, if it were to really happen.
Right.
Especially because tractors have those divots.
No, yeah.
They're not just tires, they're like...
Yeah, those like, deep tracks. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he ran over this, like, 9-year-old child, and Angus cries impotently over a small, dying child. At the hospital, he does cry out to Jesus to let the kid live, but he dies.
Oh, it didn't work this time.
It didn't work this time.
Didn't do the right prayer. Covered
in blood, his brother comes in, and they hug and cry it out before the brother's wife joins in, and Angus just keeps apologizing. Now, admittedly, in this movie, which is very boring and not engaging at all, this is a relatively effective scene, and the actors do a pretty good job of playing this part out.
Yeah.
Especially because, like, all major events, everyone reacts a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And Angus's is both understandable, but over the top, but well acted, but, like, you get it, but you're also like, damn, but also, like...
Okay.
Because his brother takes it a little bit differently than he does.
Right. So it seems like a actually convincing emotional moment.
Right. Because you never know how you're going to react in such a thing until you're there.
Right.
I'm in the relatively not too tragic life I've had, I tend to take things pretty passively.
Yeah.
Like, something bad happens, I'm just like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Like, the worse it is, the calmer I am about it.
Yeah, no, I can handle really, really stressful situations, and the more stressful the situation is at that moment, the calmer I am.
Right.
And the better I can handle it, but it will come back to bite me later. Like, eventually, when it does settle in and I've, like, kind of reassessed, I will have the emotions eventually, but conveniently, my body waits until it's a good time.
Right.
Yeah.
So it depends on who you are, but Angus is doing it. He's acting well. He's just crying and apologizing, and he's sorry, and he just wants everything to be better, but he's dead now.
Yeah.
Back at home, Angus's daughter asks him not to blame himself because it was an accident, but Angus can't keep the guilt and the shame from boiling up. He's not supposed to be angry, he knows this, but he is, and he loved that boy before he smashed him to bits.
Yeah, sure did. Oh well.
A random woman stops Jill in the street to express condolences for what happened, but she also asks if Angus prayed for the kid because God could have risen him from the dead. And what a glorious testimony that would have been.
Why didn't you just do your magic trick?
And Jill is rightfully upset by it and runs away to go see the boy's mom, and they cry over it together. Mm-hmm. But you're right, because Angus
has already claimed to be able to do this.
He's demonstrated it.
Yeah, so he basically just let his nephew die.
That's what we know.
Right.
It is an incredibly stupid thing to say to a person in the street. Like, I'm sorry about your nephew, but you could have just X, Y, Z, be like, I'm going to slap you.
If that what hadn't been the claim that he's put out there to begin with, that would be an absolutely abhorrent thing to say.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's his own.
It's not unlike when you're in chemo or treatment for some sort of illness. Mm-hmm. Like, you just need to drink a bunch of turmeric.
You need more kale.
I'm going to kick you in the face if you don't get out of my face right now.
Yeah, have you tried anti-inflammatories?
Right. Oh, man. They're so well-meaning and they're so annoying.
I know. I get it.
Now, Jill and the boy's mom are out in public. They're at, like, a restaurant, at a cafe, crying over this dead child. And so a waitress is put in the very awkward position of trying to do her job and feeding these women and making sure they have any water, tea, drinks they might want. Uh-huh. But they're both crying their eyes out. Super fun for waitresses. So what are we supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? And since you've served, I wanted to ask you.
I don't go to that table.
You don't go until they're done?
Not at all, until they've seemed to have, like, settled down.
Because
if I can see their water low, I'll go and I can go refill the water without having to actually interrupt them.
Yeah.
But no, that table does not get any kind of, not because I'm ignoring, it's literally like, they're not here for me, they're not here for food. Mm-hmm. They're here because they needed to talk some shit out. Mm-hmm. So there's no reason to force food decisions on them, or, yeah.
That's where I lean too.
Yeah.
But it was just this moment where I was like, what is she supposed to do? She doesn't have...
Yeah, and then it's funny, you're like, I wonder how long this is going to take, because they're taking up my table, and I'm not even sure they're getting food.
Yeah, so I was just curious what you do, because I'm with you.
Yeah.
But the scene was awkward, because the waitress is by, and they're both crying so much that it's hard to speak.
Yeah, I've waited on a table that was breaking up before, and it's very similar.
And she was like, can I get you anything? They're like, no, we're fine.
Do you want to maybe go home? That's what I want. I wouldn't want to be those women who, like, I would never, ever, ever put myself in that position. Yeah. Like, I don't understand how you end up in that position. It's like, unless both of you go somewhere at place for lunch, but it's like guys, because the other one of them has something to tell the other. You know, like, you think you're going on a date, but you're getting broken up with. Mm-hmm. But it's like, if both of you know you need to talk about this dead kid, why are you going to a public place?
Yeah, it's weird. Or at least a public place where you're specifically supposed to be
engaged, or interacting with other humans.
Mm-hmm. Or at least you could go in and be like, here's the thing. I'm about to go cry at that table.
Give us about 45 minutes. Right. And then maybe, like, also we'll tip you for your time. Because, yeah, don't take up somebody's maybe only table.
We're back at the farm, and the pastor is talking to Angus, and he asks for Angus's gun. Because Angus is a farmer, he has a gun, and he wants to make sure that he won't do anything with it. But Angus says that he's okay, and he isn't going to do anything stupid. Mm-hmm. Simeon is also sulking around, sadly, while everyone else is really just trying to deal. Now, eventually, Angus's brother calls and says that he just saw his son in some sort of supernatural event, and he thanks Angus for it for reasons that I'm really unclear about.
Well, Angus says Jesus.
Right, but like, whatever. But he's feeling a little bit better, I guess. Angus eventually gets another call and is told that he's managed to rent the stadium that he wanted after all. Because the guy had to look into it, if you can rent a stadium for such a ridiculous event.
Yeah.
So that's cool for him, I guess.
Sure.
Simeon and Angus promote the Kings Park Gathering. That's the stadium they're at. And while And once at the event, Angus claims that God has told him to plant potatoes, which is insane given the drought that they have been stuck in and everyone is aware of. Mm-hmm. Some of the people at the event themselves think he's nuts, but they listen nonetheless as he prays over and with everyone there. And I was very excited because I'm like, we're finally getting to our potato scene.
Yes.
And everyone, including his banker who calls him on the phone, warns him about planting potatoes. Because if this fails, he's going to be bankrupt. It's not an option.
Right.
His banker sees that he's been ordering stuff for potatoes. And he's like, oh, here's the thing. You're trying to order potato stuff? And I don't know if you know this, but it hasn't rained in months.
Yeah.
You don't plant potatoes when it's not raining.
Right.
That's a really, really bad plan. If you fuck this up, we will all be out of business. But Simeon believes it will work. He's with Angus now. They plant. And 4 weeks later, there has still been no rain at all. And Angus laments that nothing seems to be happening. They can't know for sure, though. As we explained earlier, potatoes grow underground, and so you don't know what you have until you begin to harvest. So, some time has passed, presumably, and we are preparing for the harvest. And Angus tells Simeon how much he appreciates them, and he says a prayer before they begin to dig up these potatoes. These hopeful potatoes.
Mm-hmm. And it's presumed that it has not rained the entire time?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
And he's, at this point, sort of hedging his bets, because if there are no fully grown potatoes, they won't be working together anymore. So he's letting him know now, I appreciate everything you've done for me. If this doesn't work, sorry for your unemployment.
Right.
Simeon digs in, and he pulls out a huge giant potato, while Angus grabs 2 of them, and he thrusts his hands into the air just like the DVD cover,
Amazing.
Except it's not raining, so it's pretty disappointing.
That's what a waste.
Yeah, I know.
What a waste of a moment.
He does do the potato scene.
Yeah.
But it's bright daylight.
Right. So these potatoes grew with no water.
Now, alongside this, as they started this harvest, lots of people, I guess from the event, have come by to see these fabled and presumably impossible potatoes. Mm-hmm. And Angus and God has delivered. We literally see people from their cars walking onto his farm to see if the potatoes grew.
Right.
And they have. So now we know that God did it. And Angus did it through him. Or whatever.
Everyone's magic.
Everyone's magic. Angus then uses the potatoes to tell the people that their faith should be just as solid and substantial as the potatoes. And we close the film over a Happy Jesus song. And I'm just glad it's over, because my God.
I'm so glad it's over. I didn't know how far into his life it was going to go.
No, it's over.
What I read, which I don't know where in his life this fit, but I believe from this point, he slowly gathers a following of pretty much only white men who come and meet. Hundreds of thousands of white men go and have seminars, I guess. What would you call them? They're like
revivals? Yeah,
something like that. Just to be told that they are they're kings of their castle. They are fucking they are the leaders. They are the gods of their own making. And to go home and beat their wives, I guess.
Yeah, the movie's over.
Yeah.
So we're not getting that far.
Good.
Is there anything else now that we're here at final thoughts?
I think I covered it. He thinks that homosexuality is a disease that can be cured.
Mm-hmm. Just like lightning strikes.
Just like lightning strikes, yes. And dead corn.
Right.
Cured.
Just need some good old Jesus in your life.
Right. So he's a piece of shit. In fact, the countries he's tried to go to do his sermons or preaches or whatever have refused to let him into the country because they see him as it's not even about freedom of speech. Mm-hmm. It's hate speech. Mm-hmm. He does hate speech. Mm-hmm. Yeah, around the world, wherever they let him.
Right.
And that's it. That's that piece of garbage. Angus Buchan.
Good old Buchan.
Buchan can fucking off.
Yeah. So my final thoughts are...
Yeah.
I hate this character.
Yeah. I like that, really, they didn't even sugarcoat how terrible he is. His redemption is in lies. The
funny part for me is that it would be deeply, deeply incompetent for a movie to have him tell a story about the corn rising and not show it.
Yeah.
So we have to assume that he's intentionally lying.
Right.
In the script of the movie.
Well, we also know he's lying, because that can't happen.
Well, Right,
but even in the context of the movie, like you said, you're right. Like, they don't give us... There's no way that could have happened.
Right, because we see all the events.
Right.
We see him come back to Jesus. We don't see the corn event.
Yeah.
So this is just a lie.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to tell a real event, you could say God delivered rain in the non-rain season to put out the fire.
Right, or this thing happened before I even, like, started on this journey that
would be a
following.
good example.
Yeah.
Or I rose a woman from the dead.
Yeah.
That's a good example.
Uh-huh.
If God can raise a woman, he can raise your life, or whatever.
Raise your corn? Raise your maize?
Well, he was talking about corn. But if he's giving a real example, if he can raise a woman from the dead, he can pick up your broken life. Yeah. Let him pick up your broken life.
Exactly.
But no, he's just lying. So it's weird, because first we hate him because he's the worst.
Right.
And then we hate him because he's the worst, but the opposite.
Right. He's a twat either way.
Right.
Whichever side he's leaning towards.
So it's just the strangest movie.
Yeah.
It's also really, really boring, which is why I didn't make you go through it.
Thank you so much. That's the kindest gift you've given to me.
Yeah, there was very little to be engaged in. The scene where the kid dies is the only part of the movie where you're not completely bored.
Moment of excitement.
Yeah. And at the end when I was waiting for the potato scene, but it wasn't raining, so...
So that was a disappointment, too.
Yeah.
It's like a letdown all around.
I mean, he did the potato thing, but I wanted rain.
No, it needed to be Shawshank. He needed to be covered in shit. It needed to be raining potatoes.
Uh-huh. So, obviously, it's time for Best Worst. Obviously, the best was the kid being smashed by a tractor.
Murdered child is the best thing about this film.
Yeah, which is weird.
It is weird.
The worst thing about this film
Speaks for itself.
is all of Angus's entire personality and character.
Right. Who he is in the movie and who he is in real life.
That's true.
Garbage.
You can have a Best Worst, too.
Yeah.
And that's the one.
That's
who
it.
he really is.
Who he really is. Yeah. That this man still exists and is still trying to do the same bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And is a drain on our society.
Yeah. Well, I guess African society. Unless you mean global society.
Global society.
Yeah.
He's a nuisance.
He's a nuisance. All right. And now it's time to talk about next week.
Oh.
This is what we're doing.
What are we doing?
Tell me what it is.
I thought I looked at it upside down and thought it said Rain Man.
Oh, no, that's not religious.
I'm not going to be able to pronounce this.
Pronounce it.
Ramayan?
I think it's Ramayan.
Ramayan?
So, do you know what the Ramayan is?
No. Are we trying our best to reach outside of Christianity in this one?
Oh, this is not a Christian thing.
Obviously.
We are finally moving onward.
Okay.
The Ramayan...
We're taking a slight detour.
...is an epic Hindu legend.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the... I believe it's one of the primary, books or stories that Hinduism is based on.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a TV show.
Okay.
Based on that same story. Ramayan was the most viewed Indian program of all time, at least at the time. It may still be.
What
I'm not
was the
sure.
time? What were the decades?
This is 86, I think.
Okay, right on.
It ran from 86 to 88.
Baby Hillary time.
Baby Hillary time. There were even legitimate news stories that when the show aired, the streets were empty and shops were closed, and at one point an important government meeting had to be rescheduled because none of the cabinet had shown up to work because Ramayan was on.
So it was like the series finale of MASH?
Yes. It was extremely popular amongst Hindus in India and the rest of the world. Mm. It was even popular amongst Muslims in the area.
Okay.
It's one of the most viewed things from India ever.
Oh, I actually legitimately can't wait to see this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very curious about it.
So we're in for some pretty dope intro to Hinduism. And if it doesn't convince or enthrall us, it should at least be interesting historically, right?
Yeah, and I like to learn new things.
Yeah. And we're just going to watch the first 2 episodes. It's an hour.
Okay. How many years was it on?
2 years.
2 years, okay.
I believe 86 to 88. But there's 200 episodes. Apparently they pumped them out.
Holy shit.
I might be wrong. It might not have been 200. It might be 78? 78.
So, okay. Yeah. Right on.
Still a lot, but I don't think we're going to be watching all 78.
No, I don't want that.
Eventually one day.
I got a lot to do.
I need you to watch 78 episodes of Ramayan.
Absolutely not. Next.
But yeah, so I'm pretty excited to not be doing Christian stuff.
Yeah. Get a little break.
Get a little break from that.
From the insanity.
I mean, it's a different type of insanity.
Maybe.
Hindu. Are you a Hindu now? You're a believer?
No, I'm saying...
You might be, after this.
Is there anything comparable in Hinduism of the evangelicals?
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I hope so.
You know, old Greek myths?
Yeah.
And how obviously absurd they are? This isn't a real story?
Right.
Hinduism.
Okay, but are
Because-
there people that follow it to the extremes of like
I think so.
fucking mega churches and tent
think so.
revivalists and
Yeah. They have, I believe, religious conflicts between sects of Hindus, like people who take it more seriously versus less,
Right.
are fairly normal.
Gotcha. I can't wait to learn more about it.
Yeah, but this is mostly just a telling of the mythology, the religion. So it should be fun.
Cool.
And remember, if you like the show, please give us some of those 5-star reviews in whatever podcast app or service you are using. And tell your friends about us any way that you can, because we need you.
Yeah.
We need you, Hillary. Mm-hmm. We need me less so. And we need the audience mostly.
If it was just me, Hillary, there'd be a lot of silence.
Just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Responding nothing. It'd be like Garfield minus Garfield.
You're John.
I am 100% John in that scenario.
Links to everything, social media, and everything else are in the description of this episode. And please go to our website and send us a comment or a question.
Yeah. Tell us what we did wrong, too. I want that.
Anytime. You can send us rants.
Please. Beat me to a pulp.
Emotionally,
I might
verbally.
like it.
Now you're talking like me. And as always, thanks for listening.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.